Ma'am, after this webinar is over, kindly share the Facebook and the YouTube link with me, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. I will share.
Okay, thank you.
Shall we start now, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, as you say.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Present here virtually. I am Nalini here, and I welcome you all for today's session, which is titled as Exploring Adolescent Masculinity of Boys Top Their Less Activities. And presenting this session, we have with us our today's expert, Miss Madhurima Das Gupta. Miss Madhurima Das Gupta is an assistant professor in the Department of Sociology from Adamas University. She is presently pursuing PhD from Jadavpur University in a sociology of gender. The topic on which she is conducting research, construction of masculinity, a sociological study of high school boys of Kolkata, is the first of its kind and West Bengal, especially Kolkata. She is in a teaching profession since 7.5 years and have a work in both government and private educational institutions like Amity University, Kolkata. Her specialization includes sociology of gender, sociology of human relationships, body, technology, and society. Without wasting much time, I am welcome to Miss Madhurima Das Gupta. You may start now, ma'am.
First of all, a very good afternoon to everyone present here. I'm immensely grateful to Research Circle for inviting me as the resource person to enlighten all of you on a very pertinent and a different issue where research work has not been explored much. The name of today's topic for the webinar is Exploring Masculinity of Adolescent Boys Through Their Leisure Activities. I'm also thankful to Sakshi ma'am for inviting me for this lecture. Now, first of all, coming to what do we mean by masculinity? In very simple words, when we talk about masculinity, certain traits come into our mind. We know that gender is socially constructed. Now, for example, if a child is born, the child is born with a particular presence of certain sexual organ. Now, depending upon the sexual organ, the doctor assigns the gender to the child. So if depending upon the sexual organ, the doctor assigns whether the child is a boy or a girl. Now, if the child is a boy, then the child has to abide by the socially constructed gender of masculinity. And if the child is a girl, then she has to abide by the socially constructed gender of femininity. Now, what do we mean by masculinity? Social construction of masculinity. Masculinity basically means the traits which are associated with being male. That is, what are the traits? What are the features to being a man? To be physically strong, to be courageous, to be very aggressive, to be financially independent, to be inexpressive to emotions. The moment the boy is very physically strong, is very aggressive, financially independent, and does not show emotions, that means he is actually a macho man. He's a man of the society. He is born as per the social construction of gender. But the moment the boy deviates from these traits, then he cannot be termed as a man. So masculinity is a product of social construction of gender, and it involves the traits which are associated with being a man. And this term masculinity was popularized, and the work on masculinity was first conducted by a very renowned sociologist. Her name is Raven Condon. She's a pioneer in one of the books written by her, which is named Men and Masculinity Studies. Now, since I'm doing my research on adolescence, and since this topic today also talks about adolescent masculinity, I will say, like, what do we mean by adolescence and what has masculinity to do with adolescence? Now, first of all, we have to know what exactly is adolescence. Now, the term adolescence, ADOLESCENCE, it comes from the Latin term adolescere, SCERE, which means grow to maturity. And adolescence is a very crucial and critical phase between 13 to 19. Teen, that is why it is known as teenage adolescence. And according to Stanley Hall, who is a renowned psychologist, he said that the period of adolescence has corporal development where self gets integrated within the family, culture, and community. So what does this mean? This means that adolescence is a period which is characterized by storm and stress. Remember when I was in my adolescence, I used to face a lot of problems in taking decisions. I think most of you who are listening to me, they can relate to this. If anyone is in this stage of adolescence, or if anyone has experienced this during their adolescent period, it was very difficult to make decisions. And we would not rely on the decisions of our parents. We would always go with the decision of our friends, more with the decision of our friends. So that is why it is a period characterized by storm and stress. Why there is storm and stress? Because there is onset of puberty, because there is hormonal changes biologically, and that leads to cognitive, social, mental issues. We are unable to take decisions, but on the other hand, we don't want to rely on our parental decision. We rely more on the decision of our peer group. We depend more on the peer group, and that many a time leads us to some troublesome situation. That is why it is a period characterized by storm as well as stress that every boy or girl undergoes. Now, why I am actually talking about adolescent masculinity? First of all, going behind the rationale is that there has been very limited research work on adolescent masculinity. However, there has been limitless work on adolescent femininity. That is because in our society, in Indian society, there is ample amount of work on femininity as compared to masculinity. And the topic on which I'm working for my research PhD, and as well as today's topic, that is one of the most unexplored arena, not only in India, but also in West Bengal, especially Kolkata. Now, since my topic is on how adolescent masculinity is constructed through the different leisure activities, obviously the first and foremost task of mine would be to define what is leisure. Now, what comes to everyone's mind when I talk about leisure? What does leisure means? Leisure means feeling of recess, relaxation, when we are on our own, when we want to do something which is away from the routine aspect of everyday life. Now, in sociology, one of the major contributions in the sociology of leisure was given by Stanley Parker, Parker. And this Stanley Parker, he was a British sociologist, and his major contribution in the field of leisure is that how he constructed the types of work and leisure practices in order to show the relation between leisure patterns and occupations. He wanted to show how a relation exists between different types of leisure and between occupations. How one is dividing the time between the work sphere and their leisure time, relaxation time. However, after him, there were also many other theorists like Elias and Dunning who regarded leisure as a spare time spectrum, which involves three major activities. What are they? Firstly, spare time routines. Spare time, meaning eating. When we eat, we are, in our leisure time. I'm not talking about when we are eating at the workplace. Remember, like if many of you are working, you can relate to it. In the workplace, many a times it happens that we are munching something, but eventually we are trying to, meet the deadlines and complete the assignments and all. Not that kind of eating. When we are at home and we are eating, completely forgetting about the mundane aspects of everyday life. Washing, domestic administration, when we are doing household chores, household activities, we are trying to be aware from the mundane aspects of everyday life. Intermediary activity, second one, which means religious activities, voluntary work. Religious meaning when we participate in any religious rituals, any worship. we are at our spare time. And also voluntary work which we do it voluntarily on our own will, which is not coercive, which is not forced from us. We are doing it because we want to do it. It depends on our consent. It is not something which is coercive or it is forceful. And thirdly, leisure activities like sports, theater, and party. Sports, which explore later on in the later slides. It's one of the most important leisure activity for the boys, adolescent boys. And also, I think when we are involved in sports, if anyone is involved, you will find that when we are doing any activity, physical activity through sports, like playing football, cricket, rugby, or anything, badminton, we get engrossed into the game and forget about the everyday life. I mean, the routine aspect of everyday life. Theater, if you go to a theater and watch any kind of theater drama, it can be watching movies as well, and partying. We are partying with our friends, we are hanging around with our friends, then we forget everything, all kinds of worries which are, troubling us. We forget everything and we completely get involved in it. So these are some of the activities, leisure activities, which has been pointed out by theorists like Elias and Dunning. Now, recent research, that is contemporary research, shows that the sociology of leisure has come of age, which is enriched with theoretical, empirical insights into the everyday forms of leisure activities. Now, this particular arena, sociology of leisure, it is now enriched with theoretical strands. There are many theories which supports leisure. There is, on the other hand, also there is empirical studies which is being constructed. So scholars are also prompted to rethink about the research on leisure and to establish the link with other fields of research. Because leisure is regarded as an interdisciplinary stance. It has many interdisciplinary perspectives. Leisure can be related with society. It can be related with politics. It can be related with education. It can have, definitely it has a historical background. Leisure can be located in geographical spheres. So it is regarded as interdisciplinary. So there has been many research work which is being conducted on the interdisciplinary aspects of leisure. Now, there are certain types or forms of leisure activities which exist in general. Basically, there are two major types of leisure activities. What are they? First is structured leisure. Structured leisure activities are those activities which are freely chosen by the adolescents. It provides physical as well as mental stimulation to the teenagers. Like, for example, if I want to practice dancing because I personally like to dance, so I will try to get enrolled in dance classes so that it increases, it stimulates my physical and mental health. So for that reason, enrolled meaning I have to register, I have to enroll with a particular amount with a fee. And if I'm a teenager, there will be definitely supervision by my parents because I'm growing to become matured, going by the definition of adolescence, growing to become matured. I'm yet not matured if I'm an adolescent. So structured meaning those activities which are chosen by the adolescents and which provides physical and mental stimulation to the teenagers, and it requires registration or enrollment with a fee, where there is always, not always, of course, mostly supervision by the parents. And these activities require commitment by the adolescents and often involves regular participation schedules. So if I'm an adolescent, I am enrolled to join the dance class. Definitely, I have to participate there. I have to, since I've paid a particular amount, so I have to go to the dance class every week or every month, the way it is, it's being held. Okay. And it also emphasizes on the skill development of teenagers, how skill can be enhanced. So active participation is very much required in structured leisure activities along with sustained attention. We have to participate completely with full concentration so that will increase our physical and mental stimulation. So that is the structured leisure, first type of leisure under the types. Now, under the structured leisure, there is again two subtypes. So structured leisure can be subdivided into two subtypes. What are they? First is family leisure, and second is, two types of structured leisure involves sports and cultural activities. Now, by sports, I think all of you know sports mean football, playing cricket, playing football, playing rugby, and cultural activities, meaning the example I was giving, dance, music, and painting. We will find that when a person steps into the adolescence, the person always, or rather, the adolescent or the teenager always takes keen interest in dance, in music, in showing his or her curricular activities, in showing his or her skills and prompts, because that helps to improve their physical and mental health. Not only that, but also provides them life satisfaction. It increases their quality of life. Because if I'm an adolescent and if I'm practicing dance, music, that will keep me well physically. It will try to provide me solace mentally, socially, where social health is very important. If I'm going to a dance class, physically, definitely, I'm interacting with many people. And when I'm interacting, I'm getting to learn many things from them. Learn and unlearn both. So my physical activity, my social interaction is increasing physical and mental stimulation and providing me life satisfaction. I'm being satisfied at the end of the day. I'm very happy after practicing. So enrichment in any cultural activities or any sports activities is very much essential for adolescent boys. And it is never an obstacle or obstruction to the academics of the boys. Because as I have found in my research, adolescent boys have reported that they love to get enrolled in be it sports or be it dance or music classes, especially sports. Later on, I will discuss about bodybuilding as well. Okay, and this is especially true for the middle class, Bengali middle class. They are very much into enrichment activities. Even the parents of the adolescent boys, they also love to engage their children, or rather their sons, in various enrichment activities. Not only because that will increase their status, but also because it will help in cultivating different talents for their sons. Okay, and eventually adolescent boys who participate in sports, they have greater intimacy with their parents, followed by better self-identity. So when their parents are supporting their sons and the sons are also agreeing to it, so definitely the intimacy with the parents will increase more, and that will also grant them a particular self-identity. So that goes with the structured leisure. The two subtypes are sports and cultural activities. Coming to unstructured leisure. Now, adolescent boys engage in unstructured leisure activities, which means what? Which does not require enrollment with a fee, which we can practice in day-to-day life, like interaction with our peer group, be it the male or the female peers. So when adolescent boys interact with their peer group, male or female peers, be it in their school, be it in the tuition, be it in the neighborhood, that is unstructured, because you do not have to pay. Definitely, if you're interacting with a friend, you do not have to pay to interact with him or her. So that is why it is unstructured. It is not structured in the society. Maybe definitely it gives physical and mental stimulation to the adolescent boys, but there is no payment, no amount is charged. And participation in unstructured activities with friends helps to enhance their social and cultural capital. Now this term, social and cultural capital, or rather two terms, they are a part of theory of a very renowned sociologist. His name is Pierre Bourdieu. Social and cultural capital means one's network of relationships along with the values inherent in them, which is an important resource to improve the social well-being of adolescents. So when an adolescent boy is interacting with his friends, that is helping him to increase his network of relations. Maybe after interacting with his friends, he recommends some other friends for him. For example, if I'm an adolescent, just an example I'm saying, I'm interacting with my friend and I need some help regarding a survey which I'm conducting in my school as a part of my project assignment. So he recommends, my friend recommends some other friends. See, you can talk to one of my friends, then ultimately that networking begins. Then the other person, the other friend will give names of his or her friends. so that networking continues, networking of relationships. And that helps in the social well-being of adolescents. The more I'm interacting, more social interaction, more there is social capital, more there is enrichment of activities. And definitely that helps to increase the well-being of adolescent boys. This has been found in the research as well. Now, just like structured activities are subdivided into two types, unstructured activities are also subdivided into two types, which are the two components of unstructured activities, leisure activities rather. The first subtype is family leisure. Family leisure. Now, this term family leisure means the time that children and parents spend together in their free time or recreational activities. So, for example, an adolescent boy goes to watch a movie with his or her parents. That is family leisure. Or, for example, the adolescent boy watches any action or thriller movies, but under the supervision of the parents. That is also family leisure. So this shows that leisure is not an isolated aspect of life, but it is interrelated with the social context and daily life experiences. I'm not saying that adolescent boy cannot be isolated or cannot watch any movie completely in an isolated way. Definitely that can happen as well. It is happening nowadays. But when they are watching within movies, when it is supervised by their mother or father or by their parents, that is known as family leisure. And one of the major paradigms which has emerged to understand family leisure is the sociological family leisure or feminist paradigm, which analyzes the impact of gender relations on family members. What kind of movies can the adolescent boy watch under the supervision of parents? He cannot watch anything which is erotic, anything which is obnoxious, which is perverted, termed as perverted by the family, the mother or the father. So it regards that family is an inseparable organization of society where it reflects the dominant hegemonic notions of masculinity and femininity and male power of the patriarch. So maybe the adolescent boy has to watch certain movies which has, family values inherent in it, or which has some comic values inherent in it. But he cannot watch a movie which is erotic. Then it will not be recommended or suggested by the parents. So that is how masculinity is constructed, where the head of the family, especially the eldest male member, he will always try to decide. If there is not an eldest male member, then maybe the eldest female member. But mostly in India, it is the eldest male member who decides everything. What should an adolescent boy watch and what he should not. The same goes for adolescent girls as well. Next is casual leisure, the second component or a subtype of unstructured leisure. By the term casual, we know that casual meaning time to spend time casually with our friends, which is away from the mundane aspects of day-to-day life. So since unstructured leisure does not require enrollment with a fee, the boys can download the games, which is free of any charge. We know that thanks to social media, thanks to so much of apps, impact of social media technology on our day-to-day life, that children, especially adolescents, they are hooked to the internet most of the time, completely hooked. And they love spending time in playing games like PUBG, though PUBG has been now officially banned, and Minecraft. Because I have seen in my research also, PUBG has a militant attitude which helps them to show their physical prowess to their friends. And it's a group game. The same goes for Minecraft. And it's casual because it helps them to forget about their, mundane aspects and their routine aspect, especially about homework, especially about the school, the routine the routine activities of the school, and they can engage in the game completely. So these are the two subcomponents, or rather subtopics or subtypes or components of unstructured leisure activities. Now coming to the major part of my today's webinar, what are the different types of leisure activities which are engaged by the adolescent boys? The first and the foremost one is watching action or thriller movies. Now, as I have seen it in my research, majority teenage boys, they spend their leisure time by watching movies, be it action or thriller, be it in the Netflix. Nowadays, most of the boys, they do not go much to the cinema halls. They watch it in the, in Hoi Choi series as Netflix, in YouTube. Why? Because such type of movies, especially action movies, help them to show their physical prowess. What does action movies show? How one can try to portray or flaunt one's physical strength to others. And remember, physical strength is always associated with a boy, which is hardly associated with a girl. So that helps them to increase their physical strength. Along with the masculine power, like being physically strong, courageous, inexpressiveness to emotions. You will find in most of the action movies, emotional scenes are hardly there because it's mostly action oriented. There is lack of emotions. There is more focus on showing one's ability, courageousness, physical strength, muscular body. Very, very important. So that is the first type of leisure activity engaged or involved in by the adolescent boy. The second is sports like football or cricket, which I was already mentioning in my former slides. Now we know that sports is one of the most important leisure activity and one of the most important means of expression of masculinity for the adolescent boys. Why? Because playing sports provides both physical as well as mental strength. And a boy, since birth, is always socialized to be engaged in some kind of physical activities because that will help to retain their physical strength. Because boys always have been socialized or socially constructed to portray his physical strength. So physical prowess is one of the most important socially constructed traits of being masculine. A boy who is masculine must be known for his physical fitness. So physical body is one of the most important socially constructed traits. And such physical prowess helps the boys to conform to the notions of hegemonic masculinity. Hegemonic masculinity, H-E-G-E-M-O-N-I-C. Hegemonic masculinity means it is the configuration of gender practice that accepts the dominant position of a man and the subordinate position of a woman. A hegemonic masculine man always abides by the socially constructed notion of being physically fit, strong, to show his toughness, to have a muscular body, to be a very macho man, to be aggressive, and to have emotional stoicism. That means not to be expressive to emotions. So a hegemonic masculine man is very much patriarchal as well. And among the sports, high school adolescent boys, high school meaning they study in class 11 and 12 standards of this school. They spend their leisure time in playing sports like football and cricket because they're trained in such sports since their childhood, and they even watch the sports in media like television. And also because they have been socialized by their parents to keep themselves physically fit by engaging in these sports, these activities like in football, cricket, rugby, etc. So that is why sports is one of the most important leisure activities for adolescent boys, because it helps them to abide by the socially constructed traits of masculinity. Being physically strong, being rough and tough, to have a good macho and a muscular body, to be aggressive, to be capable, and not to be expressive to emotions. Now, sports is such an activity where any kind of physical and mental abuse takes place among the players during the game, because competition is a significant feature of sports for the players. Now remember, in sports, what happens? Many a times injury and pain does take place. However, sports has a very good relation with violence. Remember, the players who are involved in the game, be it cricket, be it football, especially football, if they are injurious, they do not try to show it to the public. First of all, because men are socialized not to cry in public, not to show their emotions in public. And secondly, any kind of pain or injury in sports is not socially constructed to be tolerated in society. So any kind of showing of emotions or showing of injury or pain is not tolerated in sports. Players are always motivated to be strong, physically strong, mentally strong, not to show any emotions in public. So often any kind of physical abuse or if any fight takes place among the players with the opponent team, that leads to aggression followed by the tendency of losing the game. So there is a lot of aggressiveness, violence involved in sports. If any team is, losing the game, the players become violent. And it happens when we, watch sports. I'm not talking about IPL, but basically the sports or rather the cricket matches which take place between India and other countries. So later on, when I researched on it, I actually got to know the relation between sports and violence, how injury and pain is not tolerated in sports as per the social construction of masculinity. The third most important leisure activity for adolescent boys is surfing social media, social networking sites like WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram. Now we know what is social media. Social media helps the adolescents in general not only to stay in touch or keep in contact with their friends, family, or relatives, but also to kind of portray themselves, to portray their body, to portray their image, or to enhance their self-identity, be it by posting pictures, be it by sharing videos, anything. And with the advancement of IT and its impact on our everyday life, social media has definitely come of age. And here I mean social networking sites like WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram. And adolescent boys, they have reported that they use these types of social media to communicate with their friends and also to contact with their teachers if they give them any home task or anything. So that is also there, but mainly to communicate with their friends, to have some time of relaxation. So they engage most of the leisure time in accessing the two social networking sites like WhatsApp and Facebook more than Instagram, which helps them to reduce proximity. So for example, if the adolescent boy is interacting with his friend, but wants to meet him, but he definitely physical intimacy or physical proximity is not possible. So virtual intimacy or virtual proximity is allowed by social media through video calling, features like video calling. And many a times it acts as a solace to escape from the loneliness and the hectic schedule of their lives. Because life has become very busy for everyone. For everyone. So they are also one of the puppets of this busy life. So in order to escape from the mundane aspects of life, they also engage in such kind of intimate relations with their friends, with their intimate partners, which reduces the proximity thanks to social media. Not only that, it is through social media that they can self-present themselves. How does this take place? Self-presentation in the form of clicking selfies. Selfies have become a part and parcel of our everyday life, I think, thanks to smartphones, thanks to social media. We are always busy, clicking and posting everything. And it is more for the adolescents and specifically for the adolescent boys. They like to show their muscular body. They like to self-present themselves because, according to research, that helps them to enhance their self-esteem or boost their self-identity in order to attain a higher status and reputation among the peers. So if, for example, if any adolescent boy posts his picture where he's looking very, different and very handsome, and he gets good likes, number of comments, that will increase his self-esteem, self-identity. And most of the comments comes from his peers, then his status in his peer group will increase and it will attract more female friends. It will make him femme fatale, more sexually attracted to the friends, which is very important for the adolescent boys. By connecting the school adolescents with their peer and close family members, social media serves as a means of recreation through verbal and non-verbal interaction. So not only they communicate verbally, they call each other, but most of the time they also communicate non-verbally. through emoticons, through symbols, through stickers. Now, in WhatsApp or in Facebook, we have so much of stickers by which we can convey our emotions to our friends, to our family, to anyone. So that helps to convey our feelings, our emotions to the other person without much verbal interaction with the other. Now, like on one hand, there can be a pro of social media or social networking site. There is also a con, the dark side of technology, the dark side of social media. And one of the darkest side of social media is cyberbullying. One of the darkest side of social media is cyberbullying, I repeat. So while on one hand, adolescent boys, they are they kind of enhance their self-esteem, self-identity over social media. They are also unfortunately subjected to cyberbullying by their friends. They are mocked at by their friends. And that produces a negative impact on their everyday life. Since in my research, I have included bullying, I remember out of 100 school-going adolescent boys, 95% of them have reported of being bullied at least one time or the other in their school life by their school friends. And one of the adolescent boy has reported that his bullying had gone to such an extent that his parents had to change the school because he went under clinical depression. So you can understand how unfortunate for him and how negative is the impact of social media, cyberbullying. If any adolescent boys, for example, posts a picture and it does not receive any like, or maybe the comments are very sarcastic by his friends, so that eventually leads to some kind of bullying. He or she becomes depressed. And since I have mainly focused on adolescent boys, even the adolescent boys have reported that they have also faced cyberbullying, but that did not stop them from using social media. And they face it on a day-to-day basis. But still, they are addicted to social media. And this kind of addiction mainly increased during the lockdown due to COVID pandemic, because their physical activities were restricted. They were completely locked within the four walls of the room. They were overburdened by the online classes, virtual education. And at the end of the day, they had nothing to rely upon except accessing the social media. So that is how, social media plays a dual role. Every phenomena, every process, everything has a pro and con attached to it. So simultaneously, social media also has. And adolescent boys have responded that they are, they are a product of the positive and the negative impact of social networking sites, especially Facebook. Next is the next type of leisure activity which the adolescent boys like to engage in is beautification of their bodies. Beautification is something which I think in today's society, all the adolescents would like to engage in, being a boy, be it a boy or a girl. However, the type or the form of beautification varies. And in terms of beautification of body, adolescent boys express their willingness to beautify their bodies because it helps them to enhance their self-identity again by increasing their sense of appeal. Again, I'm repeating myself, by making them femme-fatale to their friends at their respective schools and also to other friends in the society whom they know. And how do they do their beautification? Through hairstyling, through applying, different types of gelling, everything, through hairstyling. Not only that, they also undergo body modification. They do body piercing, and they also do tattoo inscription, different parts of their body, because that will increase their self-identity among their friends. A person who has a tattoo, or who is, having a good muscular body with a tattoo or a, body piercing and with good hairstyling, is highly acceptable by his friends than the one who is very simple, easygoing, and, not much cared about his body. That is how the social construction takes place in our society. And obviously they do it to attain self-identity and which helps them to construct the notion of masculinity. if they are more acceptable in his peer, if he is more acceptable in his peer group, then that will help him to increase the beautification of his body, so that he remains popular with his friends, so that his peer group does not ostracize or marginalize him. Because acceptance by the peer group is most important than rejection or withdrawal. That is why they beautify their body. But that does not mean girls don't. Girls also beautify their bodies, but that has more to do with jewelries and ornaments. Next, coming to another very important type of leisure activity engaged by the adolescent boy, bodybuilding or gym. Now we know that bodybuilding is something which many adolescent boys are obsessed with. They would love to, maintain their body, not only for physical fitness, but also, having a muscular body conveys a message that they will be more acceptable in the society by their friends, by their male or female friends, everyone. So adolescent boys prefer bodybuilding or visiting the gym as they're concerned about their physical fitness and a healthy lifestyle. And this concern about their physical fitness and to keep a muscular, well-built body gives them the confidence to conform to the body reflexive practice. What is that? Body reflexive practice means which helps to maintain their body as per the changing norms of society. So they will try to be physically fit, have a muscular body, because that is what is acceptable in society. The moment that is not acceptable and a different body regime is acceptable, they will try to abide by that regime also. All in a bid to attain self-identity among his peer group and also be more acceptable in the society. That will increase his popularity or reputation. So definitely it will help him in the construction of hegemonic masculinity, physical strength, coming to it, physical fitness, toughness. So if a boy has a macho, muscular body, just like, Salman, I'm just giving an example, he's more acceptable in the society, more acceptable in the peer group. So the practice of gym has been socially constructed to conform to the traits of authoritarianism, where a man characterizing physical toughness and aggression, they strive to exist more and is socially constructed to be the fittest in society. So if a man has a muscular body, we will not be concerned about anything else about that man. How he treats others, how he treats other women, how he treats his girlfriend, his other female friends. We will not be concerned. We will mainly be concerned about his muscular body, because that is what is acceptable in society. And the adolescent boy who has a good muscular body is highly acceptable, and he is also authoritarian because he has physical fitness, and with it he also has narcissism. He's obsessed with his body. He's narcissist. He's authoritarian. He's narcissist. He's obsessed with himself and his body. So he's also socially constructed to be the fittest physically in the society. Again, the social construction of masculinity as well as gender. Now, other than that, there are also certain other physical activities which has been reported by the adolescent boys that they have engaged in or they like to engage in. What are they? They are swimming and cycling. Many adolescent boys have reported that they engage in activities like swimming and cycling, not only because they are learning it since a very young age, but it helps to improve their physical and mental health. And again, it provides life satisfaction, just like sports. Undergoing swimming and cycling helps to keep their physical, helps to maintain their physical fitness and also helps to increase their self-identity. Other than that, adolescent boys have also reported that they also like to engage in other activities like reading magazines or storybooks. And what are the types of magazines that they like to read? They are Reader's Digest. We are very much familiar with the name. Tell Me Why. Followed by storybooks like Hardy Boys and even Feluda series, again thriller coming into the scenario, which I discussed in the first leisure activity, action and thriller movies. So that is related to storybooks and movies. Because reading such materials empowers them with proper knowledge about global affairs and it gives them a thrilling experience about the critical stance of reality. very much prevalent in the Feluda series. And reading Reader's Digest and Tell Me Why helps them to be acquainted with the global affairs, because of which they like to engage in reading prowess. They not only like to read physical books or physical magazines, but also they read e-books and e-magazines as well. Other than that, adolescent boys have also reported that they love interacting with their peer group, either at the school or neighborhood. This interaction has been termed as adda. In Bengali, we say adda. Since my research has been on Bengali middle class, and I have conducted in North Kolkata, northern part of Kolkata, so their adda culture is very much prevalent. Adda meaning gossip, interaction which takes place on a particular roak, where all the people, especially I'm not talking about adolescent boys, there are many elderly people who engage in adda as well, because this is a legacy, this is an age-old tradition which has been carried out in North Kolkata. And it is mainly through this adda or interaction they discuss about many aspects, like they discuss about gadgets, new games which has come up, they gossip about their girls in locked rooms. Now this has a very important theoretical stance behind it. Since I have conducted my research on adolescent boys and peer group as well, where peer group was one of the objective, what is the impact of peer group on adolescent boys, I have come across a very important practice, like I can say, which basically exists in Australia, that is known as locker room culture. Here it's locked rooms, so locker-room culture. Now, locker room culture is a very interesting culture of adolescent boys of the schools in Australia, where the boys, they discuss about their girlfriends in locked rooms along with other boys, other male peers, and they discuss about their femme fatale, they discuss how sexually attractive they are, but they do it in locked rooms, because discussing explicitly about these topics are definitely not allowed in the school premises, that too publicly. And behind the locked doors, they discuss many things explicitly about the sexual intimacy with their girlfriends. So that is locker room culture. And it exists in our Indian context as well, but the term is not yet popularized. People are not aware about it. So they discuss about gadgets, about new games, gossiping about girls along with their studies. Along with that, adolescent boys also participates in out-of-school activities like adda with their peer group and their neighbors. Many a times, if they have a para culture, then they basically go out in the evening to play cricket or football with their neighborhood friends. And that also increases their social and cultural capital, which means the networking of relationship. So while playing or engaging in any kind of sports with their friends, para friends, rather neighborhood friends, they come across and they meet new friends as well. That increases their social and cultural capital, the networking of relationships, and eventually that helps to improve their social well-being. So that is how the peer group produces an influence on the adolescents through the interaction. Social interaction being one of the most important leisure activity, casual leisure we can say, of the adolescent boys. And finally, I can conclude my today's lecture by saying that adolescent boys who study in the 11th and the 12th standards construct their masculinity by engaging in different leisure, structured and unstructured leisure activities, which I already discussed. But they try to keep a balance between the structure and the unstructured activities. That is, they engage in both of them eventually. While on one hand, they're practicing sports, on the other hand, they are also, doing family leisure. They're also interacting with their friends. So they try to keep a balance between the both. So this arena is a very unexplored arena, on which I'm working for my research, PhD research. And hopefully there will be more future research work. There will be more future directions on such research. So with this, I end my today's lecture on the construction of adolescent masculinity through their leisure activities. These are some of the references which I referred. So my acknowledgement to all the viewers, all the listeners. Thank you for your patient hearing. I'll be happy to take questions.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for this very nice session. If anyone has any question, you can ask. I think no one have any question, ma'am. Thank you so much all the participants for your active participation. Let me inform to all that this complete session will be available on our Research Circle YouTube channel. So if you want to watch it again or want to share it to somebody, please do visit the Research Circle YouTube channel. Thanks. And last but not the least, thank you Miss Madhurima Das Gupta for taking out time for session. With your permission, I would like to end today's session here. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for inviting me, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.